Hello, hello, hello. Today is April 25, 2022, and my calendar on the wall says 2 weeks have passed, and it's time for Norm Winski to tell us what astrology has in store for us. Norm, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I thought I would, as I like to do, I'd like to review what I told the folks before on when I was on Monday, April 4. So we had a whole bunch of stuff coming up that week and into that week and the next week. So we're going to go over that quickly. If you have any questions about any of these technical terms, contact me. I'll send you the notes. I'll give you a free class. We'll go through it. Okay, so there we go. So let me just explain. AC means after the close, so something's happening after the close of that day, overnight. So we'll be looking to do it, possibly do a trade on the next day's opening. Okay, if you see AM, that's obviously morning, and PM is afternoon. Okay, so we have 4 5, April 5th. After the close, we had Neptune line up with the U.S. chart. That's what's that? That's we take a snapshot of what the planets were on the 4th of July, 1776, and that's the imprint of the astrological imprint for the U.S. Anytime we have that, we have U.S. stocks, T-bonds, U.S. dollar. Then we have Uranus to the U.S. chart, same thing, U.S. stocks, T-bonds, U.S. dollar. Then we had Mercury, Mercury cycle over the 8th weekend, and that's anytime you have Mercury, that's your grains, corn, soybeans, wheat. Excuse me. Then that same weekend we had Venus, a Venus cycle, and Venus is cattle, copper, cotton, sugar, wheat. And then we had that same weekend, big cluster that weekend, a Jupiter lining up with the U.S. chart for stocks, T bonds, U.S. dollar. And then we had that same weekend, Jupiter lined up with Neptune in the sign of Pisces, and Neptune is associated with Pisces, so it's like a triple whammy. Jupiter and Pisces, Neptune and Pisces. That hadn't happened for 167 years. And that's oil, 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 and oil. There you go. So Jupiter lined up with Neptune again in the morning of the 12th, and that was oil, 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 and oil. And then we had Jupiter to the U.S. chart and major change in trend for stocks, T-bonds, dollar. Then we had that was over the weekend of the 14th. Also, the weekend of the 14th, we had Geo Mars. That's from the point of view of the Earth, geocentric. Mars entering Pisces, and that's oil. And I remember that was a 3-day weekend, and so we'd be looking to do something on Monday's opening, the 18th. And then you had the full moon in Libra that weekend also. So lots of stuff. Going to go through the charts here quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll give you my contact information at the end. Here's corn. Grains usually act well with the planets and the moon, but the corn did not this time, so that's a miss. Red arrow is a miss. Green arrow is a opportunity to make some money. And so our deal is if it rallies into a key date window, we look to sell. If it goes down, we'll be looking to buy. And so the market went up into that, and it just kept going. And same thing here with the second one. That was let's see, that was a Mercury point, and then the second one was the moon. Here we have the beans. They did top on the Mercury point there, and did not turn on the moon though. Here we did the opposite. It didn't turn on the Mercury and Mercury. Wheat was both Mercury and Venus, and that didn't work, but the full moon did. So there we go. We got 50-50 there. Here we're going sideways. We don't do sideways, so I put a yellow box there to show you we took a pass on that, and because it was really just going sideways. Cotton, on the other hand, was pretty definitely down, and you made a very nice low there with the cotton on the Venus point, and then you can see you had a rocket ride up for about 4 days. And sugar made on the Venus point there, made a little bit of a top there, and then we took a pass on the moon. There's a copper, not very nice 1 day top there on the copper, dropped 10 cents. That's $2,500 in 1 day on copper. Then we had silver, it topped right on the moon, high day of the month. Gold, same thing, high day of the month on the moon. Crude oil did great on crude oil. That was one, if you remember, that was one of my featured markets when I was on here before because all the indications for oil. We topped on the 8th there, and then it went down to our next point, and near the Jupiter Neptune lineup there. and then up to the Mars into Pisces, and that was been the high of the last several weeks. And then we go on the S&P here now. We had to make a short-term low here over the 5th and the 6th into the 7th opening. Had a little bit of pop-up. Then we had a whole bunch of stuff. We were just going sideways here. So I had 5 points here. I all threw them in the sideways pass category with the yellow boxes. Then I went down. We made a nice low here over the weekend of the 14th into the Monday's opening. And we had 3 points there for a very good low there and a nice rally. Here, the T bonds were a disaster. Usually do very well on the bonds, but the bonds just with no bounce. There hardly any bounce in the bonds. So if you bought on weakness, you probably lost money, and that's what happened here. We had 5 points, all bad ones. Here's we only had one good one on the dollar. It was doing just the mirror image of the bonds, pretty much. Okay, so the currencies danced to the moon, and there's a full moon there for the Aussie dollar. Made a nice low there. You had the Canadian dollar making a low there for the full moon, and the euro making a low with the full moon. And if you count up the green arrows and red arrows, we had 19 winners out of 32 points for 59.38%. Not, to say the least, not one of my better periods. Here's what's coming up, and we're doing this the evening of the 25th. I thought I wrote this over the weekend, though. I had this in my letter actually from several weeks ago, and I think Jeff knows that I featured this in my email over the weekend, that we were looking for a low the morning of the 25th, and we got it with these points here at Helio, Mars entering Aquarius, and Jupiter lined up with the U.S. chart there. For the AC means after the close of the 22nd, I'd be into Monday's opening, and we're looking for a low here. Also on my sentiment indicator, it rarely gives outright buys and sells, but we had one over the weekend because with a buy signal, because we had too many bears. It's based on the option trading on the CBOE, too many puts, relative to the number of calls. And we had then with this rally, which turned around there this afternoon and rallied strongly into the close. This rally could last until the night of the 27th, into the morning of the 28th. Then it's going to get a little choppy because then we have another point the next day on the night of the 28th and the 29th with the Mercury point. And then we have one of my bigger ones, Pluto, turning retrograde for the morning of the 29th. That's going to be cocoa, coffee, hogs, and T-bonds. And then we have the over the weekend of the 29th, we have a solar eclipse in Taurus. And that's because that's a new moon, special kind of new moon. Then we have financial green special metals. And because it's in Taurus, we'll be looking at cattle and cotton. Here, if you're not familiar with me, I've been doing this a long time. Right out of college in 1975, I bought a membership on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, and I was there for 12 years as a member and market maker. I also traded on the Chicago Board of Trade, so I got a little bit of experience. Looking forward to helping some of your folks, Jeff. I'll give you, they can get my notes for free and get a free class if they like. Here's my contact information here. I'm in beautiful Naples, Florida at phone 239-594-3939, or you can email me at Winski at nbark with a Q, mail.com, or you can call me on Skype at Winski_1. So looking forward to helping some of the folks there, Jeff. Everybody have a great week.
Great as always. I would say for most people, 59% success in commodities would be considered very good. I can't recall anything worse than that you had, and that's still pretty darn good. So I think you're telling us we're going to get all kinds of whipsawed this week, and I hope no one watching this gets whipsawed with this information because you've told them. Norm, thanks ever so much, and we'll see you back in a couple of weeks, okay?
Yes, sir. Great. Thanks, sir, for having me on.
Okay, bye-bye.